what is the Pocket Lab, the web app exactly? So there's a couple different versions of our Pocket Lab app. One is the traditional app that you would download from the App Store. So if you're using an iPhone or an iPad, you look up Pocket Lab in the App Store and you download that app. And that's, you can download the Pocket Lab app on iPhones, Android, Chromebooks, even from a traditional app store. The Pocket Lab web app works a little bit differently, and you can think of it kind of like Google Docs. Google Docs is an app that works in an internet browser, and so the Pocket Lab app, web app works in an internet browser. You open up a Chrome browser, and you go to the pocketlab.com/app, and so I'll show you how to do that. And you connect your Pocket Lab directly in that browser. And so this is really great because the app is the same on Chromebooks. It works the same on Macs, and as recently as this week, it works on Windows 10 devices. So for those of you that have been waiting for Pocket Lab to be on Windows 10, this webinar will also show you how you can get connected to the Pocket Lab web app on Windows 10. So that's kind of a basic overview of what the web app is. And again, you can use the web app on Android devices, Chromebooks, Mac computers, Windows 10 computers, and it all works the same how I'll be showing you today. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to connect your Pocket Lab to the web app. And I'm going to be primarily using today Pocket Lab Voyager. But we also have, you may have a Pocket Lab Weather, looks very similar to the Voyager, or you may have our original Pocket Lab 1. They all connect in the same way to the web app, and they all work the same in the connection. I'm going to be using Voyager, but it's going to be the same in any of the Pocket Labs that you might have. I'm going to share my screen here, so it might just take me 1 second to do that. And so you should now see a Chrome browser. This is my Chrome browser that I have up on my screen. And so simply to connect to the Pocket Lab web app, you just need to go to this, type in the pocketlab.com/app, and that's it. The pocketlab.com/app, and it takes you right to the connection screen. You don't need to download anything. There's no license or anything like that. So if you're in a school, you don't need to download things to all the student devices. You just need to go to that website, the pocketlab.com/app. You should see this connection menu here that comes up, and then you also should get a pop-up that asks if you want to allow the app to view your location. And you can block that if you want. If you allow it, you get some extra data visualization things that are nice with some of the weather sensors. So you can view your data on a map of your location. You can pull in publicly available data from Weather Underground to compare to some of the weather data that you have. So I'm going to allow it here. And then the first thing I want to do to connect Pocket Lab is we're going to click this button at the top. It says Connect to Pocket Lab. There are other options down here which we'll go over a little bit later. Mostly you're going to be using this button up here at the top. So we just click Connect to Pocket Lab. This connection pop-up window should appear. And when you turn your Pocket Lab on, you should see the name of your Pocket Lab appear. So this is just called PL Voyager. Next to the name, you'll see this signal strength indicator. And so my laptop is down here in this corner. If I bring my Pocket Lab really far away, you'll see that signal strength goes down. If I bring it close and if I put it right on my Mac, you'll see it goes all the way up. So this can be a great tool if you have multiple Pocket Labs that you're trying to connect with. Maybe you have 5 or 6 Pocket Labs in a classroom and different groups are trying to connect to their Pocket Lab. Have the students put their Pocket Lab close to their Chromebook or whatever they're connecting with and click on the one with the greatest signal strength, and that should be their Pocket Lab. I'll also talk about how to rename Pocket Labs in a little bit, and that can help too. Okay, so now we've connected Pocket Lab, and we are immediately seeing acceleration data streaming in real time. So as I move Pocket Lab around, you'll see that data reflected in the web app. If you look at the front of the Pocket Lab, our logo is giving you the orientation of the Pocket Lab sensors inside the device. So it's a little hard to see, but going up and down is the y-axis. And so as I move the Pocket Lab up and down, you'll see the y-axis, which is in blue, that's moving accordingly. The x-axis goes this way, so you'll see that in red. This is the z-axis here. So you'll see that moving back and forth. Okay. Some of you asked, how do you kind of reduce the amount of data that you're maybe seeing in the app? And you can do that over here on the right-hand side. You can toggle on and off as you're doing an experiment. We just want to look at the x-axis. You can turn off the y and the z-axis just by clicking those toggle buttons. And now you're just viewing the x-axis graph. You can turn those back on there. Up in the upper, and now I'm just going to quickly, now that we're connected, I'm going to show you just some basic navigation of the app before we get into data recording. So in the upper left-hand corner is the switch graphs icon. When you click that, you can pull up all the different graphs that you can switch to that your Pocket Lab can connect with, or excuse me, that your Pocket Lab can record. So I'm going to go down here to, let's say, angular velocity. So I want to unclick acceleration and click on angular velocity. And now I'm measuring my rotation, and I'm in a little office chair, so I'll do a little spin. And you can see that data stream. And so if I'm doing some motion experiment like this, I may want to turn the data rate up to a higher data rate. And so over here on the right-hand side, you'll see this slider, and I can turn that up to 50 samples per second. So that's maybe better for a motion experiment. If you're doing some type of weather experiment, you may not want that many samples every second, so you can turn the data rate back all the way back down to 1 sample per second. Okay, next to the data rate changer there is what looks like a ruler, and if you click that, you can change the units that the Pocket Lab is measuring for all the different graphs. So you can change temperature from Celsius to Fahrenheit. You can change angular velocity from degrees per second to RPM. So you can do that right there in that change units button there. To the right of that is this audio feedback button. I'm not going to click on it right now because we'll get some feedback with the recording and everything. But if you click on that, you will get an audio tone that is reflecting the graph that you're seeing. So it's like a really interesting way to engage with the data. So if you click on it, as the graph goes up, you get a higher pitched tone, audio tone. As the graph goes down, you get a lower pitched tone. And so it can be a really fun way to engage students in different types of experiments. So I recommend turning that on and playing around with different graphs to kind of see what's fun and interesting with that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and switch to another. I'm going to switch to the humidity graph to show you one more thing. So here I'm displaying a line graph of humidity. When I breathe on it, I'm getting this display of humidity over time. If I click up here next to line graph, I can click on a bar graph here. And so I'm just getting another display of the data in a different way. I can click on digits and view that data as just single digits. And then if you allow your location data, you can view the data that you're looking at on a map. And then there's another what's called a weather view. So if you go back to the select graph button, you can click on this weather view. And if you click on that, you should get 4 displays of data for humidity, light intensity, barometric pressure, and temperature. And then if you've allowed your location data, the app is pulling in publicly available data from Weather Underground and putting it on this map down here so that you can compare some of the data that you're collecting with data in your kind of a larger geographic region that you're in. Okay, so all of that, we haven't done any recording of the data yet, so I'm gonna show you how to do that here in a second. In the upper left corner first is this settings gear. If you click on that, you're going to get a little menu where you can go to Pocket Lab, go to our Pocket Lab educator site to find activities, go to our website, get technical support, rename your Pocket Lab device, which we'll talk about. You also get a display of how much battery is left in your Pocket Lab. Like I was saying earlier, we're just streaming data right now. So as none of this data is being saved, so you'll want to click record when you want to begin an actual data recording that you want to save the data for. So I'm going to go back to humidity. Click done. Now we should be streaming humidity data. And when I'm ready to begin a recording, I go down to the bottom and I click record, and then I blow on it, or I did in this recording. And a couple things you might see that's different about the graph when you know you're recording. One is the line changes to points when you're recording data, and then in the lower left-hand corner you'll see there's an indicator that you're currently recording data. At the bottom of the graph you'll see a display of the current time of the recording and the humidity reading at the time. And then when you're ready to stop, you just click the stop button at the bottom, which I'll do here in a second. There we go. Okay, so now you get a view of the entire recording that I did of the humidity. As you hover the data or your mouse over different data points, you'll see that data at the bottom where it says humidity. So as I hover my cursor over the data points, you'll see the values of those points below. You can click and drag over a data set to zoom in on that portion of the graph. So I'll show that here again. So if I click and drag, then you zoom in on a set of data, and you can zoom all the way in down to a single data point. At any point, you can double click to zoom back out and view the entire graph. If you see something in your trial that was interesting, you want to do some data analysis with that, zoom in on the part of the data that you want to do your analysis, and then in the lower left-hand corner is a data analysis button. If you click on that, that will bring up some data analysis options. And so now we're looking at the standard deviation, the mean, the value range of that portion of the graph that we're looking at. And you can also fit a curve to that portion of the graph that you're viewing. And so that data analysis is for the portion of the graph that is in the window. So that's why you want to zoom in on the important data that you see. So I'll double click to go back out. At any point I can hit play and I'm just replaying the experiment again, so you can do that. And then when you're ready, you can, if you hit clear, the data is gone. So before you do that, you're going to want to export your data as a CSV file. You can still go back and view different views of the data as well. So you'll notice at the very top a new the table button is up there, so you can view your data in a table as well. And then when you're ready, you can click export data, and you can either save that data locally. If you click save local, it'll download a CSV file right to your computer or your Chromebook. If you click upload to Google Drive, it will send it to your Google Drive account. So if you're logged in, you just click here and it sends it right to your drive. If you're not logged in, there'll be a prompt that asks you to log in to Google Drive. So now that I've done that, I can click open in Google Sheets, and now I'm opening the data that I just recorded in the Pocket Lab app. I'm opening that directly into Google Sheets. It's just taking a second here to load. And now I have this data in a table. If I want to replicate the graph that I just saw in the Pocket Lab app, I just have to highlight the entire table. And then now that everything is highlighted, I go up in the top and I click Insert and then Chart, and that will give me a graph of the data. And I think it just took me an extra second here when I was doing this recording. There we go. You click Insert and then Chart. And I know some of you probably already know this, but this is just a quick way to get that same graph from the Pocket Lab app up in Google Sheets. So now there's the graph. Again, if you hover your cursor over different data points, you can see those values, and you can edit the chart further in the chart editor. So whatever is your preference for using, if you want to use Excel, you can do this all in Excel as well. But you can, you want to make sure that you save your data as a CSV file before you hit clear at the bottom. We're going to quickly talk about how to rename Pocket Labs for connecting in the classroom. So let's say you have multiple Pocket Labs in the classroom, and you want to name each of those Pocket Labs something like Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, so that it makes it easier to connect when you have a lot of students working in lab groups. So this option is available for Pocket Lab Voyager and Pocket Lab Weather. If you have a Pocket Lab 1, you won't be able to do this, but using that signal strength indicator like I showed is something that will help if you have Pocket Lab 1. So for Pocket Lab Voyager and Weather, you'll want to go into the settings in the app, click Rename Device, and then from there you'll be able to follow the directions to do that. So I'll show you a quick video showing that as well. So right now I'm connected to the app. I'm going to unpair the device, or go back to the connection screen by clicking Unpair. And you'll notice when I click Connect that the Pocket Lab, when I turn the Pocket Lab on, you'll see it's called Pocket Lab Voyager. If I turn on another Voyager, you'll see that it's also called Pocket Lab Voyager. And so one way to tell the difference between them is by the signal strength indicator. The closer one, so now you see both of them. So it might be a little confusing if you're in the classroom. The one that's closer to the device that you're connecting with will have a better signal strength. But if you want to rename the device, you just have to go into the settings menu item on the left-hand corner. Click Rename Device, and this window should appear. And you need to delete the word Voyager and then type in any other name between 3 and 15 characters that it can't have a space or anything other than numbers and letters. And the PL has to stay there at the front, so you won't be able to edit that. But you'll be able to call it something like, instead of PL Voyager, you'll be able to call it something like PL Group 1. So you can save that. And now, in order to save the name kind of completely, what you have to do is disconnect your Pocket Lab. And then if you refresh the app, and you can click Connect to Pocket Lab, you'll see that the Pocket Lab Voyager is now called Pocket Lab Group 1. So if I click on that, and then the other one is still called Voyager. So that's an easier way in the classroom to tell which Pocket Lab to connect with.